Okay, so uh, now for the more sunny days. Uh, I always was left with some sort of trace because uh, Dave somehow became a Heyoka figure for me too, in that he did some strange things like um, he always baked something like the most decadent chocolate coffee cake he could make for the feast after the lodge. You know, he did these like very subtle little things. Um, and he always talked about how he got kicked out of a Sundance because his rib broke. And somehow this turned to me as a continuing dream of me going to Sundance and it raining. And I had this dream a lot. The most prominent one being on the on the 87. I had a dream I was on the 87 much later when I was living in Payson. We would go to, I'll just say near Tucson. We'd go to Sundances near Tucson. And I had a dream I was going down the 87, which would be for me that general direction. And that in the east there was a stump, and a tree had fallen, and all the ground was mud, and people were having a Sundance, but it was raining and it was all mud. And eventually this would become something I would see, not the tree broken, but I would see it rain. After my son was born, and we took him to a Sundance. And also, his mother touched the tree when she was pregnant, and before that, see, we're counting these things backwards. Weird. Before that, there was a day where there was a crystal skull that came to Sundance, and there was a Heyoka drove his car trying to cross the east gate, but got stopped and got pulled out and whipped. And I had his bandana, which I finally gave up to the Mad River about a month ago, maybe a couple months ago. But I had that bandana the whole time, even when it rained. And I touched it to the tree. So I did my dream work had to come to fruition, and Edmund has asked me to come back this year. He was sitting there when it was raining, facing outward. So this being shamanic work, some of it's so enigmatic I couldn't tell you the exact meaning, only that there's huge transitions happening in the world. I felt I had to go into occult work. I didn't think I would want to go back to a Sundance, but I'm going to go with Lova this year. So I guess I'll find out at this one what it'll be like after all that. I did do a prayer fast. Sorry, I'm recounting all these backwards. I did a prayer fast, and that led to me having a vision about me meeting a woman and having a kid with her and her leaving me, which turned out to be true. But it was God's will for me to have a kid. Uh, so, so I did it. But when I did that prayer fast, I could say I had that experience. I saw a scarab walk by, and as the scarab walked by, I was reading Krishnamurti in the woods, and he said, "What is a spiritual experience?" And I realized I was trying to have a spiritual experience, so I was controlling my own visions, and I let go of it when I saw the scarab, and I was trying to fight the feeling of dying from not eating, and I just faced the emotion of your body's telling you it's dying. And so I let it give me that experience, which was leaving my body and all that. And there was a boatman, and I gave him the pennies, and I went across the river, and I saw pyramids, and I saw Thoth, who I had no idea who that was at the time. But I ended up painting him on one of those giant bedsheet paintings on ayahuasca. It was beautiful. It's in my mom's garage. But I met Creator, and he didn't seem to have any opinion about anything, except there were angels there, and they cleaned my spirit, and they told me I was going to have a kid. But he didn't have any judgment of me, and I realized how easy it is to get into heaven. What I didn't realize is how hard it is to carry something from one life to the next, to later. Something of value, which in my case is becoming more and more about helping the environment, and I try to do that through art because it's what I've dedicated my life to. So then I decided somewhere at this point, I was at another low point in my life. I missed not seeing the mother of my child or my son very much. And I went through some really tough emotions about that. Now I think it's for the best, and we're on friendly terms and stuff, and I will visit my son when we go out there in April. But so at the time then the first thing I did was I did the Crossroads ritual, probably because of Bob Dylan. I went out every night. I worked hours so that even though I had to work a couple days during that, I still could get out there at midnight and read whichever psalm it is. Like, I don't know, but I read it as I walked out there every night. And on the last night, I did see a person. I won't say who that is. It's nobody's business. But I saw a person, and I went out there one more night, and I saw a green firework go off, and it wasn't July. I'll say that part. But my visions changed, and my experiences changed. I wouldn't recommend the ritual to anybody who doesn't need a dramatic change in their life, but I needed one. And I would say it was worth it in the long run. I went through some hard points with it. So after that, I started researching Crowley, and I felt that I wanted the wisdom of Babylon, that there would be. I already felt I've had plenty of power in my life. I wasn't trying to seek power, but I was trying to seek wisdom, because I felt like I didn't know what to do, and I didn't really like myself. So that attracted me too, because she's beyond the paradox. That's why her name helps you cross the abyss. Babylon means wicked in Enochian. Sorry, that was a lot to communicate also. I don't need to apologize for that. Okay, so I joined the OTO. I'm a Minerval. I haven't got past that, but same like art school. I know all the books to read. And I do lots of middle pillar work mainly, and some clip-off work now. But the first two rituals I did when I joined the OTO, I got help to do a Babylon ritual. She had copper discs, Sonia, so she gave me one, and she gave me advice on how to do it. And I did mine with an all Saturn oil, everything that's in Libra 777, even the Cathead. And I was suggested to add some Venus, because actually, if you read Libra 777, it's the Chariot card. Wow, that's funny. I'm calling it the Chariot, but from Binah to Gabura, and from Gabura to Hesed, and then also a little bit in Venus, because that's why it's Libra 49. So I did start to include some Venus energies in that, but I read Thunder Perfect Mind and Revelations and all those texts to this, and I'll just say and of OV was added per ritual use, and I really did my best to invoke Babylon. I believe I did, and that Lovadelis is Babylon. We've reported this to Our Lady of the Abyss, that I feel that way. What do I mean by that? She became my perfect new wheat. She became the opposite of everything. If I generated some creative thought about something, she became the, well, what does that feel like? What does that do? What does that... it's hard to talk about that without not talking about femininity to a certain extent, but I think that Babylon, if you read Thunder Perfect Mind, you'll understand. Babylon is the all-encompassing femininity, which is not innocent or awful. It's not... it could be shamed and glorified. It's everything. It's a great energy to learn to get through the abyss, because that's where we get caught up in categorization. And if something is everything, I mean, I guess somebody could use Pan in the same way, but traditionally Babylon is used. I also did the Red Dragon. I'll just say I was very in tune at that point. Terrence McKenna kind of in tune. So, and I did the Red Dragon that way. And when I did the Red Dragon, I did it I did it with the Goetic invocation, but with the complete sigil and black mirror that I had at the time, with the Goetic seal for that, and I did it through there. And I saw something that made no sense to me, still kind of baffles me a little bit, but I saw a dog come through, and he turned everything into cats. I was doing the Lucifer sigil, so why he was a dog doesn't make any sense. Why he turned everything into cats doesn't make any sense. What I understand now a little bit is he's about seeing, because he lives in Saturn, in the dark side of Saturn. Satriel? I don't know. We haven't done much work with that sense. But anyway, what he told me is to start Cat Army. He said to start an army of cats, and that this would be reflected physically through the world, and it would be happening spiritually, and every time somebody used a cat, they would help Cat Army to accomplish its goals, which originally were more tied to trying to create some kind of post-flux thing, but have through something I always cared about, but through my interactions with Lovadelis, I've got a lot more wisdom, and I know it needs to be specifically about fighting for things that I've always cared about, but just to face them directly. Human rights in the world, equality, and most of all, recently we've gained a lot of wisdom about object-oriented ontology, and about giving people an understanding of hyperobjects so they can conceive of global warming as real. I could talk about that in another video. But Cat Army has done very well, and it has become bigger than I kind of believe the ritual worked. We had a very big art show, and now we're having a second one. And it's profound and strange. What else is there to say? I believe in the Solomon myth. That'll be helpful. Why would somebody work with dark energies and do middle pillar work? By the way, we anoint ourselves with abramelin oil every time we have done path workings, because it's important to bring that light down with you. Now, I've found that, yes, you can generate your own light, but you may not be wise enough to know what kind of light to create yet. You have to keep working on your spirit so you can carry something into the next realm. Um, but the Solomonic thing is that Solomon's temple, uh, when God commanded Solomon to build the temple, uh, Solomon said, I can't do this. It's impossible. These stones you request are too big. Uh, so God gave him command over the demons, which have more influence in the world over physical matter. And when you do a bornless ritual, you're re-purifying yourself enough to be good enough to make this demand. You know, so the point being, Solomon goes, "Oh, I thought you were God. Why do you want me to work with demons?" And God says, they're the only ones strong enough to move the stones I've asked you to move. So if you think about it, that in this whole myth, there's that you have to take your divine energies and make them powerful enough to affect life on Earth. This is where, in both cases, whatever your path, if you choose something closer to Tippereth or closer to Thagrion, or right-hand path, left-hand path, or maybe a mix of both. I believe in God, and I believe that I don't want negative energies controlling me. I'd rather be in control of them. And you can even learn from them. But, taking that will, that strength, that consciousness into that place is important. I am willing to do left-hand path work because I see these as the end times, and I feel like, I sound like, but end times in a much broader sense, like we're on the edge of the circle. We're coming around to another time. We're going through a period of chaos. Sorry, I'm trying to think of what Camille said about it. Tibetan Buddhists. But a lot of people say we're moving into chaos, and that the if we don't evolve, there'll be more destruction than there will be evolution. And then it's just a start over game, and that's not good for us or the animals. It's one of these times we got to get it and move into the next world in a healthy way. You look at Hopi prophecy. That's a good thing to come back around to. If we don't get back in tune with nature, some say things like we'll die of fear, or we'll die of all the confusion from all the technology, or we'll blow ourselves up. All those things actually have turned out to be very practically true. Let's honor this world and protect this world, and choose a path that makes you awake enough to do something about it. High left-hand path is to work on yourself, to adjust yourself so you can be stronger and not fall to your own, your sex drive, your death drive, your need to win, your ego. These things can be turned to support your will, but they, in and of themselves, when they're just distractions in your life, make you weak, make you too weak to cause change. And I really liked what DJ Elliott was talking about, fate. And I guess I didn't mention in here at all that I did learn runes, and I've shared those with Lova Dellison. She is the best scryer I've ever seen. We're kind of like a Dee and Kelly. But the reason I bring up runes is because runes have the concept of, in Norse mythology, if you're addressing the issue of fate, they talk about magic very clearly. They say there's satyr, which is to see the future, also something Lover Dallas is better at than me. And then there's, you could call it the Odir energy, but like the energy that comes from Odin, which is to cause and to change your fate. And that there's three Norns that are weaving your fate sort of haphazardly, you know, with their three threads. They might give you the good one, the medium one, or the bad one. And this is just to keep humans running, just functioning, you know. But when you learn runes, you learn the power of the word. You know, it's why it's associated with Mercury and Wednesday and all that, and Thoth. But you learn the power of the word, and when you write runes, if you write a rune charm right, you know, then you take back your will and you change fate. All of this, when you do shamanic work, when you do Western occult work, when you do runes, you're taking back your life. I would imagine that, yes, your holy guardian angel wants you to have a great life, but it can't just push people around for you. You have to get in tune with all kinds of energies to accomplish what probably is something far a higher goal than you can imagine for yourself. But the highest goals you imagine, the most helpful and beneficial, might be them. You know, people sometimes they talk to their holy guardian angel and they realize they want to be a therapist or a famous artist, but I doubt it's, sit around and watch TV. That's not what your holy guardian angel wants for you. And for people who don't do Western occult, that just means your highest self, your whatever, you know. I guess I'm gonna wrap it up here. Uh, Everybody just, you know, has one thing I've learned a little bit from DJ Elliott's is she has a way of talking about consciousness that's very much in the present, and you can presently become more conscious, not just through like trying to do conversation, have knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel, and this makes a lot of sense to me. We should be working on it all the time. If you're doing that ritual, you should also be consciously saying to yourself, am I in tune with it now? Am I as close as I can get right now to actually living my true will? And notice when you're like, you be honest with yourself. You have animal instincts, that you should be in tune with, but they shouldn't be guiding you, Maybe that's also part of the chariot, and it has those four beasts, pulling it, and you're in your armor and you're holding the shield, right? Which has Babylon in it, and you're marching around the abyss. You're going right to Binah, to wisdom, and you know where you're headed, and that's the command. That's the consciousness having command over some of our desires that sometimes are kind of silly, As you can look, it's almost like self-parenting sometimes. You go, okay, yeah, I know you want to do all that right now, but maybe we have to accomplish this and this, and then there's a higher self that's, might want even more from you than what you have to learn to start to have control over yourself. The three main centers, really, the moon, the sun, and Pluto. Okay, so with that, I'm going to bid you farewell. Just whatever your path, I hope you get closer to your true will and to causing some kind of benefit in the world, to wake humans up before we all burn ourselves, and take the animals with us who didn't do anything. I mean, it's really not fair for humans to self-destruct at this point. It's time for us to wake up. That's the message I'll leave on. Okay, love you all.